Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a literal legend in the financial world, Mark Douglas's masterpiece, Trading in the Zone. Specifically, we're zooming right in on Chapter 11. This is where Douglas lays out the exact blueprint to completely rewire your psychological approach to the markets. You know, if you've ever found yourself making completely irrational decisions the absolute second real money is on the line, well, this is for you. Okay, let's dive into this. So why do most traders fail? Look, usually it's because they're operating in a state of pure, chaotic anxiety. I mean, picture the amateur trader, right? They're staring at a chart and their mind is just racing. What if it drops? What if it spikes right after I sell? I need to know what happens next. I have to be right on this single trade or my whole account is toast. They're literally watching every single tick of the price, heart pounding out of their chest, desperately demanding absolute certainty from a market that is fundamentally designed to be uncertain.
And honestly, that brings us to a really profound contrast. The amateur is trapped in this emotional whirlwind of needing to be right. We're talking sweaty palms, fear, hesitation, wishful thinking, the whole shebang. But on the flip side, you have the cold, calculating professional who's simply playing the probabilities. The pro doesn't care about being right on one specific setup. They only care about executing a statistical edge over time. So I want you to ask yourself honestly, which side of this dynamic do you actually fall on when that opening bell rings?
Part 1. Thinking like a professional. So, the crucial point is,
How do we actually bridge that massive gap from emotional chaos to professional discipline? Well, Douglas explains that it happens in stages. The absolutely critical first step is entering what he calls the mechanical stage. This means rigidly following your rules to build deep, unshakable psychological confidence. You are not allowed to react to the market's every little twitch, and you definitely can't rely on a gut feeling. Actually, in the mechanical stage, your actions have to align perfectly, almost robotically, with a predefined set of rules. This rigid structure, that is exactly what protects you from your own destructive impulses.
Part 2. The casino advantage.
Once you've got that mechanical discipline locked down, you're ready for a massive paradigm shift. I really want you to absorb this concept, the probabilistic mindset. It literally means aligning your actions with probabilities rather than needing certainty on individual outcomes. Now, what's really interesting about this concept is how it ties directly into the book's fundamental truths. You have to deeply internalize facts like literally anything can happen, and you absolutely don't need to know what will happen next to make money. A professional trader fully accepts that an edge is simply a higher probability of one thing happening over another. And that's it. Think about a casino for a second. As Douglas points out, a casino doesn't win every single hand of blackjack, right? They don't break a sweat when some tourist hits a massive jackpot. Why? Because the house knows they have a mathematical edge. They operate with strict rules over thousands and thousands of plays. They know for sure that over the long run, the math guarantees their success. If you want to make it, you've got to stop acting like the gambler frantically pulling the slot machine lever and start acting like the casino itself. And to operate like the casino, well, you need the house rules. Douglas distills this down into 7 core principles of consistency. Listen, these aren't just helpful tips. They are powerful affirmations designed to be repeated daily until they literally bypass your conscious mind and become deep, unshakable core beliefs. Let's break them down.
Part 3. Defining risk and edges.
This preparation phase is where all the heavy lifting actually happens, when the market is quiet, long before a single dollar is put on the line. Principles 1 and 2 lay the groundwork here. Principle 1. I objectively identify my edges. This means you clearly, cleanly define your trading setups based on a tested advantage. No subjective feelings. Absolutely no wishful thinking. Either the criteria are met or they aren't. Then, principle 2. I predefine the risk of every trade. Before your finger even twitches toward the buy or sell button, you've already determined your exact stop loss and your exact position size. And this brilliantly illustrates the massive divide between success and failure. On the professional side, you've got strict position sizing and a predefined maximum loss. But over on the amateur side, it's just emotional guessing and completely unknown risk. The professional flat out refuses to enter a trade without knowing exactly what the maximum potential loss will be. Look, if you're entering the market without knowing your worst case scenario right up front, you aren't trading. You're just hoping.
Part 4. Executing without hesitation.
All right, so once the prep work is done, that's when the psychological pressure really spikes. This is exactly where the amateurs choke. But the pros, they lean on principle 3.
I completely accept the risk or I am willing to let go of the trade. I mean, let that sink in. You must mentally and emotionally accept the loss in advance. You have to be totally at peace with the fact that the money you're risking, it could vanish. If you can't fully accept that risk, if the mere thought of losing that predefined amount terrifies you, the rule is brutally simple. You just don't take the trade. Now, if you have accepted the risk, you move immediately to Principle 4. I act on my edges without reservation or hesitation. The second your objective criteria are met, you execute promptly, decisively. You completely eliminate the second guessing and the fear because, hey, you've already accepted the worst case scenario. You just push the button. This seamless execution, that's the very first thread of the mantra that transforms you into a consistent winner.
Part 5. The Rules of Consistency. Let's move to the final phase and see how this all builds together. So, the trade is live, and that requires ongoing, ironclad discipline. These final 3 principles are all about managing yourself while you manage the trade. Principle 5. I pay myself as the market makes money available to me. Basically, take your profits according to your plan. Maybe you scale out or use trailing stops, but you never, ever let greed trick you into holding too long. Principle 6. I continually monitor my susceptibility for making errors. You're essentially watching your own mind from the outside. And finally, Principle 7. I understand the absolute necessity of these principles of consistent success, and therefore, I never violate them. They aren't suggestions. They are absolute, non-negotiable laws. Let's actually look a little closer at Principle 6, because what exactly are you monitoring for? Well, you have to stay intensely vigilant about your own psychological state. You're watching for that sudden onset of fear that makes you exit way too early. You're watching for the overconfidence that creeps in after a winning streak, the kind that makes you double your position size recklessly. And you definitely have to watch out for revenge trading after a nasty loss, where you try to force the market to quote-unquote pay you back. All of these are deadly traps that'll rip you right out of that probabilistic mindset. So to summarize Mark Douglas's entire framework here, true trading mastery is all about prioritizing the process over the individual outcome. Consistency comes entirely from unwavering adherence to these 7 principles. It absolutely does not come from trying to be right on every single trade. By focusing your energy on sticking to the rules, rather than hyperfixating on the money won or lost on one random setup, you stay firmly, comfortably, right there in the zone. I am a consistent winner. Wow. This is it. This is the ultimate core belief that Mark Douglas designed this entire framework to forge into your mind. When you align your actions with probabilities, when you objectively identify your edges, predefine your risk, accept it completely, and execute without an ounce of hesitation, that is when you earn the right to say this mantra with absolute, unshakable conviction. So, I'm going to leave you with this final thought to reflect on today. Take a hard look at your own behavior in the markets recently. Ask yourself honestly, are you just trying to win this one specific trade right now out of fear and ego? Or are you operating like a casino, following the 7 principles and building an ironclad edge for a lifetime? The choice is entirely yours.